One of the biggest issues affecting today's gym population. Going from one training modality to the next without fully exploring what it has to offer is hindering your progress and your potential in whatever kind of modality it is you're trying to build towards. This is something that I believe has held me back during my training over the years now. So over my lifting career, I have had numerous times where I have changed training modality, changed program, just kind of gotten off the path in one way or the other, and that has led to me not fully developing myself in that field. If you are brand new to training and the gym, this is a trap that you can kind of pull yourself out of. At your current stage, you can do just about anything and you're going to improve. You may progress better though if you were to follow a structured program, a structured kind of routine. You are going to get more gains out of that than you would if you went it alone and just freestyled. Although, like I just said, as a beginner in that kind of early stage, you are going to be able to get away with a lot. But more than anything, for those that are in that stage of their training journey, it's very important that you develop discipline and kind of just the ability to train hard and do that over long periods of time. That is way more valuable than the muscle or the strength that you will gain in the first year of the gym. Just because the skills, the mental kind of, traits it helps you develop are gonna keep you going in the gym for years and years to come. And then that's when the real physical kind of visible changes are gonna take place. Now, if you've already been in the gym for over a year, you know your way around a weight room, or you're at least starting to get to grips with it, then you have already more than likely got a type of style that you vibe with, something that kind of works for you. Now for you, it's pretty simple. You just need to take what you have identified as the style or the form of training that gels well with your personality, and then you need to just milk the absolute fuck out of it. There needs to be not 1 kilo, not 1 pound left of progress or 1 rep that you could have got on any exercise or anything. Take that style and just absolutely drill it into the ground. Then, once you have a period of maybe 3 to 5 weeks where you're not making progress, and even after you've taken a deload, you've looked at all the outside factors, you've addressed, dietary issues, anything like that, if you are still absolutely just not breaking through that plateau, it's definitely time to change the program. Now, beyond that, looking at the future, looking at planning your next 5 years of training, your next 10 years, 20 years, whatever it might be, we need to organize this training into a type of framework or a system. So you've probably heard a lot of coaches say they have their own coaching system, okay? So they typically, what they mean by that is they have X amount of programs that they know works well. They've run it multiple times with either themselves or clients or a mix, and they've had success with it. Now, what they do is they will take these programs, they will take these specific methods of progression or whatever it might be, and we systematize it. So, for example, the way I like to visualize it is different pools of programs or exercises, but just for ease of the video, I'm going to give you an example as if we were following a concurrent program, so a conjugate style, which would be 4 main days per week. So just to keep it easy, we're going to have lower, upper, lower, upper. Your first 2 are essentially your heavy days, your last 2 are your lighter volume technical days, however you want to call that. Now, we've got the framework in place, we've got the 4 days that we need to fill with training. We know what kind of a split we're doing. We know we're going to be doing an upper lower. And again, this is just an example. You can apply this to whatever program style you like to follow. Upper lower, how are we going to populate these workouts with movements, reps, sets, methods, progressive overload? Well, as somebody who's been going to the gym for a number of years, you, like I said before, have already got these ideas of what works well for you and what you enjoy. So you take, let's say, a group of exercises for upper body, okay? We'll start with the upper body day because it's just popped into my head first. So bench is an obvious one, right? Maybe we throw some back movements in there, some arm movements, some shoulder movements, and before you know it, we could then further categorize those down. So we could take bench press into a pressing movement. We could take the back movement into pulling movements. Then we could break it down even further by muscle group if you really wanted to. This is all going to depend on what your ultimate goal is. You know, if you were more of a bodybuilder, you'd probably break it down into muscle groups, or if you were in hypertrophy phase, then you would be focusing more on building muscle, wouldn't you? If you were trying to do a bit of both and you wanted to bring your strength up, then you would probably categorize it into like a push-pull kind of movement, legs, just so that allows you to kind of push more weight on certain movements, and we're not going too deep into isolation exercises. But back to what I was saying just then. So we've got the pool now, we've got, you know, we'll call it upper pool A, for example, okay? And we're going to fill that with press movements, pull movements, and accessory movements, okay? So within that pool, we have 3 other little pools there, if that makes sense. Now that's just upper A. So this would be the first day of the week, right? Now on the second upper, we're going to skip the leg days for now. We're just going to keep this simple. On the second upper day, which would be if the first upper day was the Monday, this would be around Friday, okay? So the third session of the week, obviously after the legs, we're then going to look at that same pool again, or you could use a different pool, and it could be called upper pool B, for example. So then you have an A and a B pool as parent pools for each of those days, or you could have one parent pool for both of the days of that week, or you could go even more than that and do monthly, however you wanted to run it. So for this example, we're going to have, like I said before, we've got pool A, we've got pool B for upper days. Now we're just going to pick different exercises, different movements from those pools, and we're going to place it where it should be in that day. So on these days, for example, the way I like to structure my workouts is we start with a main movement, then we go to a supplemental movement, and then we'll have the accessory movements after that. And obviously, depending on the person, we might put a warm-up in first or just some kind of movement prep. But just to keep it simple, main movement, supplemental, accessory, yeah, just those 3. As I mentioned, we have currently in this imaginary pool of exercises. So we're going to pick one pressing movement, we're going to pick one pulling movement, and we're going to pick a couple of accessories, okay, from these different pools. Now, I've built these pools up, these hypothetical pools, with exercises I know work well for me, exercises that I feel are working what I want them to work, and also exercises I'm familiar with. You know, they don't want to be brand new. It wants to be something that you have got a little bit of skill with. Now, we've essentially built already here upper day 1 and upper day 2 using our pool of exercises. And now we're just going to do this exact same thing for the lower days. So we'd pick, you know, a squat or a deadlift, some kind of like pull pattern, some kind of hinging pattern, whatever you want to do. Then we've built a full week here, right? We've got 4 full days, and you've built that from pool A and B lower, pool A and B upper. Now, why use the pools? Why is this? Why even bother doing this? It just seems like I've overcomplicated this a little, doesn't it? Now, the reason you do this is because we all program hop, like I said, like what this video is about. Now, pools prevent you from program hopping because you can't get out of the pool. You need to keep yourself in it, right? So you can very, very selectively, over time, bring exercises into the pool, but you cannot take movements out. Unless you have some kind of injury and it stops you literally performing that specific movement, it needs to stay in and it needs to be retained as a benchmark of progress for you going forward. So, for example, like pretty much everybody's going to be having like bench press, squat, deadlift. They're going to be within whatever pool you categorize them under. And then we've got these metrics, we've got these benchmarks forever, because this is what I see most people fail to do, and it's why they plateau for so long in the beginner stages or intermediate phase. They're not tracking the big benchmarks. We maybe jump from program to program and your metrics, your benchmarks change. They never stay the same, so we never actually ensure that we're progressing. Now, using the pool system, like I said, we can't get out of that pool. We have to make sure that if you create a weekly program, weekly template for yourself in January, and you know you do bench press and deadlift, let's say, for the 2 like heavier movements of the week, then 6 months later, you're there on a Sunday afternoon thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do for next week's program? You look at your pools of exercises and you think, well, I've not done bench press for a 1 rep, I've not done deadlift for a 1 rep, or whatever you did it for, since January. So what do you think you would then go and do? Well, you're going to go and try and attempt to beat it, aren't you? And this is why pools are great, because you can come away from these movements for a long time, but as long as you've kind of kept similar patterns in, these other movements that maybe you neglect, maybe you leave for a long time, they'll still progress. So you could expect to come back to the bench press after 6 months and make progress, and you should have made progress, because if you don't make progress when you come back to a bench press after 6 months of doing training, pressing movements, hypertrophy, whatever you've been doing, then I'm sorry to say it, guys, but you've not been training. You've been doing something wrong there. Implement the pool system. It's really going to change your training, and ultimately it's what any high-level athlete or coach does. You pick the exercises, the programs, the modalities that work for you, put them into some way of categorizing them so you can pick and choose, you can kind of, tailor them into a specific program that you may be trying to create, and then all there is left is to actually do the work. Write the program, go in the gym and do it. Track what you do, keep a log of it, try and progress it over time, and it's as simple as that. But everybody likes to overcomplicate it, jump programs because they get bored. But if you create a system and you create a framework, you never have to hop program. You just chop and change movements, chop and change modalities. It's really, really that easy, guys. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. Also, I've got a free app. It's completely free. Download it. You can log your workouts, you can track them, you can make them, you can fucking look at the movement library, a whole load of other stuff. So download that. I'll link it in the description, and have a good day.